When you think of the great capital cities of the ancient world, Rome, Babylon, or maybe even Alexandria, what comes to mind? Golden empires, great conquests, and heroic leaders. But there's one name that's always almost entirely left out of the conversation. A city once called the center of the world that brought great civilizations together for the first time. This is without a doubt one of the most important cities in global history, and yet you've probably never even heard of it. Welcome to Samarkand. I'm Simon, and I believe a change in perspective reveals a whole new universe. I'm exploring the world to discover life through different eyes and prove what often feels foreign is in fact extraordinary. Welcome to Changeways, a place for stories that might just change the way you see the world. Samarkand was desired by many. It was conquered by Alexander the Great, destroyed by Genghis Khan, and rebuilt to its current splendor by Timur, the father of modern Uzbekistan, who turned it into his imperial capital. This is the Registan, and it was once a grand bazaar and trading hub where merchants from both ends of the Silk Road would come together to not only exchange goods, but to exchange new ideas as well. And that's where the story gets really interesting. Samarkand was at the heart of the Silk Road, an overland trading route linking China, India, Persia, and the Mediterranean for the first time, allowing an exchange of goods. It was maybe even right here on this square that a Chinese and European merchant came together and had one such idea that would change the world. And that idea was actually pretty simple. It's a concept that every one of us up until this day is pretty familiar with, and it's called cutting out the middleman. What if they could bypass the high tolls and tariffs and the hardships of months of travel over thousands of kilometers on the ancient Silk Road by finding a new, faster and more efficient way of trading? They may have asked themselves, what if the Earth is not flat, but round? What if there's a direct sea route linking Europe to Asia? Well, globalization certainly didn't start out on the open ocean, but it may have started in the dust of this square in 15th century Samarkand. Whether this actually happened right here is uncertain. But what we do know is that this type of thinking sparked a pivotal moment in human history that eventually launched the new age of exploration. But what happened to the Silk Route? Well, when the merchants found their direct sea route from Europe to Asia, the Silk Road trade declined significantly. So the three giant madrasas were not just religious hubs, but they were also centers of science, thought, and learning. The tiger here symbolizes the student. The deer is the knowledge, and the sun represents the teacher. Right after the motto, be the tiger, chase the deer, and be guided by the teacher. Now we are done with our visit to the Registan Square, and I'm off right to the next aspect in how Samarkand has changed the world, and that has to do with an ancient battle and the making of paper. Right now I'm getting a taxi to this place. It cost me around 20,000 Uzbek sum, which translates to roughly $1.50. This country is very, very cheap. Should be arriving in a couple of minutes. Okay, I arrived at the Miras paper mill, and we are gonna learn how to make paper in the traditional ancient way like the people here did centuries ago, and we are also going to learn why this mattered so much in changing the course of history. This factory produces paper in a traditional way for centuries already, and we are going to have a glimpse into the process of this right now. It all starts right here. Starts with you. The main material used in the making of paper is the bark of the mulberry tree. So the first step is to take small sticks and peel the bark off that tree, put it in water and cook it to a malleable consistency. Afterwards, it's then beaten into a dough-like substance that's after placed in water and filtered with a sieve. The beating process is powered by a water wheel that uses the nearby river to keep moving. Once filtered, the material is pressed.
Okay, it's still wet, but it's holding itself together.
Hang-dried.
This feels a lot more like paper right now. Wow, now we gotta bring it to the polishing table.
The seashell, horn cow, 10-15 minute polishing.
This process creates a characteristic yellowish tinted paper, and it has a really high quality. The paper here from Samarkand is expected to outlast traditional industry paper that we use nowadays by 20 times the length. So while traditional industry paper that we know lasts for roughly 50 to 60 years, the Samarkand paper has a guaranteed lifespan of 2,000 years. Right now I'm going to tell you the fascinating story and how the paper from Samarkand has changed the world. The story starts in 751 AD with a fierce battle, the Battle of Talas, between the rulers of Samarkand and the Chinese, that Samarkand eventually won. And they took a lot of Chinese prisoners of war that eventually brought something priceless to Samarkand: the knowledge and how to make paper. Suddenly it was possible to preserve ancient Greek and Roman knowledge throughout centuries, and when this information traveled back to Europe at the end of the Middle Ages, it sparked the dawn of a new age, the Renaissance. What do we take away from this? Well, on the Silk Road they didn't just exchange goods, they traded knowledge, and with that came power and transformation. And this is just one more example in how Samarkand and the Silk Road have changed our world as we know it today. Who made the greatness of Samarkand even possible? Who turned it into the capital city of an empire? Well, it all leads back to one man, Timur. History remembers Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, or Caesar, but Timur, he is often forgotten, but his story is just as remarkable. I'm here at his mausoleum that dates back to the 14th century to tell you about him. Wow, this place is magical. Now the sun is slowly setting and it illuminates the entire building. Craftsmen of incredible skill have worked on this mausoleum and other structures around the city for years, not even decades, to create this extraordinary work of architecture. Now, before we go inside the mausoleum to visit his grave and learn about a curse associated with that, let's take a break here and learn a bit more about Amir Timur. Timur was born in 1336 and he became known as one of the most ruthless conquerors, but also as a great patron of the arts and science. After conquering vast territories across Central Asia, Persia, and even stretching into India, his empire became one of the largest ever known, even larger than Napoleon's at the height of his power. Inside this mausoleum is the final resting place of Timur, but caution, this tomb is associated with a curse, and the story that I'm about to tell you will blow your mind. Let's go and have a look inside. Oh, there's the entrance. Wow. There's nobody else here. I'm alone with the curse. So, this is how the story starts. It's June 19th, 1941, and a group of Soviet archaeologists are planning to open the tomb of Timur in this mausoleum. But on the eve of the excavation, 3 old men approached them with an ancient manuscript. They warned the Soviets of Timur's curse that said, Whoever opens my tomb will suffer the wrath of an invader even more terrible than I. But the scientists ignore the warning, and the next day they open the tomb. Fast forward 2 days, June 22nd of 1941. Nazi Germany and Hitler invade the Soviet Union under the Operation Barbarossa, resulting in the deaths of tens of millions of people. Just a coincidence? Was that the curse of Emperor Timur? Who knows? But what's for sure is that this is not yet the end of the story. There's more. After hearing about the curse, the Soviet leader Stalin decided to return the remains of Timur into this mausoleum in November 1942. And just a few weeks after, he wins the pivotal battle of Stalingrad against the Germans, who would determine the outcome of World War II. Well, whether you believe this story or not is entirely up to you, but it's definitely worth telling. Now it's time for us to leave this mausoleum behind and discover more of Samarkand, because the city certainly has a lot more to offer. And we arrived at yet another place that significantly influenced world history, and I can't believe this is all just in one city. Let's go up there and I'll tell you more about it. I am in the Ulugh Beg observatory. And Ulugh Beg was the grandson of the great Emperor Timur. And what is so special about him? Well, he was a great scientist. While the European leaders were still burning witches and are plunged in the darkest times of the Middle Ages, the grandson of Timur, Ulugh Beg, built this observatory that is rivaling the precision of modern-day technology. He has built a sextant deep within the ground where he could map planetary motions with remarkable precision. And with that also save ancient knowledge from the Greeks and the Romans until Europe was ready to rediscover it. That sparked the Renaissance. This place that I'm walking right here is called Afrasiyab, and it's the ancient city of Samarkand. Remember, the city dates back 2,600 years. So in this place here was where the original city has been built, and obviously there's not a lot left of it today. But certainly when you just look to the ground, this is an open excavation site because you can find little shards and pottery. So this little piece here, you can see engravings on it. So that is definitely one of the small little remains that you can find everywhere when you just look close enough in this ancient city. I can definitely also see the shape of rooms and houses here within the landscape. So there's definitely a lot more to be uncovered. A question to ask here is, why is this city down to ashes? Why is nothing left? Genghis Khan, the great Mongol emperor, has invaded old Samarkand in the 13th century and has completely destroyed the city. He left nothing standing. Just afterwards, Samarkand was rebuilt under the reign of Timur. And the empire that he created made him also move the center of the city into a new place that is nearby where the Registan Square is. And this place here in the northern part of modern Samarkand remained forgotten for many centuries, until modern archaeologists started excavating and finding those remains of this 2,500-year-old city. This is really a step back in time. Samarkand's story did not start with Timur's empire. It stretches far deeper, even thousands of years further back into history, and even Alexander the Great mentioned the city in his chronicles during his eastward expansion through Asia and his great conquest. I am right now in Shahi-Zinda, and in the old Persian language that means the living king, and the reason for that is a really interesting story. According to the legend, this is the burial place of a cousin of the Prophet Muhammad who came here in the 7th century to spread the Islam. The legend also says that because of that he was beheaded, but he never died. Instead, he took his own head to a nearby well, and that's where he apparently still lives. Hence the name Shahi-Zinda, meaning the living king. This place became a really important site of pilgrimage, and then the Emperor Timur did something really smart, because he let all his female relatives, wives, daughters and sisters be buried here as well, so that people that come here for the pilgrimage would also pay respect to the women of his family. And to be honest, that worked, because up until this day we see a lot of visitors coming and marvel at this ancient site here right at the Silk Road. I'm still here at this place, I think for the 4th hour right now, because it keeps constantly changing and it keeps getting more magical. The photos I've taken here are some of my favorite travel photos ever, I believe. Cannot get enough of this place. I love days like this because they remind me of how little I actually know, how little we all know. Because if a place like this, like Samarkand, can exist without me even knowing about it just a couple of weeks ago, that just brings up the question, what else is out there that I've never even heard about? Samarkand has been the perfect reminder that opening our minds towards something new doesn't only change the way we see the world, but it also changes the way how we experience it. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next adventure.